Hello, my name's Kristen Legge, and for my learning strategy, I have writing as a process. The writing process is something that I believe we're probably all pretty familiar with. This is whenever you have like the 5, 6, 4-step writing process, because it's not exactly set in stone, but that's like your pre-writing, research, if you need to do research, drafting, revising, and editing. So this is a lot of your peer review and the stuff that you did in your writing classes when you were younger. And it's definitely not something seen as common in music classes like what my lesson plan is devised around. The writing process, however, is something that is great for cooperative learning because it actively engages the students in helping each other rather than it being all teacher focused. So the writing process, being a 5-step process, is not necessarily to say that anybody needs to take all 5 steps. It's just a method of breaking the writing in general of a paper down into separate parts. First, you brainstorm ideas, and in my lesson plan, which you will see in my demonstration, I made that the homework assignment with a bubble sheet so they could do like a graphic organizer. They could put their topic in the middle and then brainstorm ideas about that topic. After that, if they needed to do any additional research, as you'll see in my demonstration in my lesson plan, mine is about types of music genres. So students were given the task of picking their favorite musical genre and then elaborating on exactly what goes into making their piece of music in that genre. And I base this on the last unit of a lesson because in music we don't do as much writing as we do singing and activities. So I kind of made my project about like a cumulative final ending to a unit lesson. But in the writing process, it works well because as the students finish that, during class time, we could go into drafting the paper. I only made mine a short 1-page paper because it's just summarizing how a song fits in a genre. But after that, rather than it just being that any student's ability of writing is stopped right there, they then broke off into groups and are able to work with their peers. So they can read their papers out loud and get feedback that way. They could also exchange papers and get editing, grammar, and spelling errors checked by their peers as well. This gives each student, in my example, 3 chances, because they're in groups of 3, to get feedback from themselves hearing it out loud and their 2 peers correcting it. After you're done revising and you get all the positive and negative feedback, not necessarily negative, but things that you could fix, you would edit. So proofread your own paper, make the changes that you felt were necessary from what feedback you received, and then that's how you compile your final draft. After that, obviously, if I had a longer class time to explain this, I could go into detail on how the teacher might then edit it and then give it back again for one more final submission. But in this class, because it is a music class and we're not so focused on the writing process will just mainly be used to make sure that I can assess what students know, how students helped each other, and then I would also be able to vocally hear how they were able to convey their own emotions, and also on the paper what they had previous towards what their peers contributed. So it's really good for assessing understanding. Something that I enjoy about the revising process is that it doesn't have to be simply exchange papers all silent. Having students read it out loud allows for students that may have language difficulties when it comes to writing or spelling. This gives them a chance to express themselves vocally rather than just in a sit-down writing type of manner. So you get that out there, and then students that are then reading their papers that see all these problems have a better understanding of what the student was trying to convey. This is also a lot of peer and colleague type of group work rather than so much as a teacher telling you exactly what step you're on and what you need to do next. This works well because if you have students that are more nervous about standing up in front of the class, you can separate them into groups of 3 people. You can let their peers lead most of it. This gives them a chance to feel more confident and get more comfortable talking out loud and get the feedback that way. Hello, So before going into my video demonstration, I would like to show you up close what some of the things that I thought of to help prepare students who might be very anxious knowing that there was a writing assignment coming up. Letting students have a paper, such as one like this that has vocabulary words listed, terms that they're allowed to keep on their desk that they could use and that they've had access throughout the unit itself. So this might have been something that was handed out on day one that we've kept revisiting, so they're very familiar with it. And then also providing them the night before, or whatever class came before this lesson, providing them with a graphic organizer that they could do at home, that they could put their song in the middle and then explain what elements of maybe melody or rhythm make it relate to the genre. So saying it has more upbeat and electronic sounds might be a reason that it would fit in a pop genre, and so forth. But having these at their access that they can use, that have correct spelling, that have terms written out for them, and also addressing them before the lesson, again, to say them out loud so they're more familiar with them, would be very helpful before having the students sit down and just have to write. All right, class, we just finished our last musical activity with genres. So like I told you in the last class, today we will be using the writing process that you guys use in Miss Elliott's class to write a one-page paper on your favorite song and how it fits in a genre of music. You can pick any song and any genre, and hopefully you've already came ready, because your homework from last week was to prepare your graphic organizer that would have your song in the middle and what parts of the song make it fit in the genre. So if you had a pop song like we talked about, you would put your pop song in the middle. You would write that you think it's a pop genre, and you maybe would talk about upbeat rhythms that are in it, and maybe you would also talk about electronic music being used, and that would be a way that you could explain to us that your song is a pop song, correct? All right, you guys can also pull out your vocabulary word sheet that we've been using throughout this unit. If you don't have any, there's a couple more in the back counter. Just raise your hand when I'm done and I can go grab them for you. And on here, you'll be able to use all of the different elements that are mentioned. I will also be writing them on the board for you over on the sideboard. And you will either tell me, is it a hip-hop genre, country, rock, R&B, jazz, or pop? And in there, you will be just talking about the upbeat, maybe the blues scales, strong beats and heavier music, and things like that. All right, you guys have 15 to 20 minutes to write your rough draft. It doesn't have to be fully complete. Just get as much as you can on there. If anybody's struggling, I'll be sitting at the back table over here, and you can just walk on back. All right? Please be quiet, and if you'd like to pull out your Chromebooks to listen to your music, you guys can do that now. All right, let's get started. All right, class, it's been 20 minutes, so now we're going to get in our groups of 3 people. I want you to find the same 3 from your presentation that you did last week on genres, okay? All right, in that group, each one of you is going to read your paper one time, and both of your peers, the 2 people listening, are going to give one positive comment on what you think they did well, and one thing that maybe you think they could fix or change. All right? Okay, after that's done, you're then going to pass your paper silently, and you're all going to read each other's, and I want you to check for the spelling, the grammar, all the things that you did in Miss Elliott's class last week, and then we will re-meet, okay? All right, so you guys are going to have a couple, maybe 20 more minutes to do that, and then we're going to meet back as a class. Thank you. Great job today, class. I heard some great discussions about your genres. John's group was talking about rock music, and he was using all of the characteristics of the strong beats and the heavier music. He even talked about how cool the electric guitar part is. So John must have did some additional research for this project. But you guys all seem to be on the right path. So now to finish up today's lesson, I want you guys all to go back to your seats, and you're going to take all of the revising, those positive comments, and the ones that you might need to do some fixing on the spelling, grammar, or maybe just fixing which genre it's under, and you're going to write me your final paper. in the final paper, if you could make sure you find all 3 vocabulary words and underline for me with your red pencil, okay? All right, so once everybody's done, I want you to turn them in on the turn-in box on my desk. If anyone has any last questions, I'll sit back at the help table one more time, and then we'll meet on the carpet to sing our final song for today. All right, you guys have been a great class, so let's finish strong. Thank you.